Well, I've spent many hours sitting on the banks of the Guadalupe River, sometimes by myself, sometimes with children, sometimes with grandchildren. And it's a very peaceful river when it's at base flow. It's not one of the largest rivers in Texas, but it's perhaps one of the most beautiful, if not the most iconic, tranquil, alluring, truly a gem of a river. Because of its beauty, everybody wants to come here, just be in and near the river. And that's both good and bad, because we know that this river is a flood-prone river. That's been well known for a long, long time. Everyone knows it's called Flash Flood Alley for a reason. And that's the terrible part of the Guadalupe River. It's beautiful and it's terrible. And those two things can be only hours apart. It's just the nature of the river.
I have lived along the Guadalupe River my entire life. I have photos of me being here when I was born, so I was probably a few weeks old, taken down to the river by my grandparents and my parents. My grandparents came here in 1927 and fell in love with the river. And they found solace here, and they found a community here. It's a place where people are drawn to. Families come and they bring their children, they bring their children's children, they bring their friends. It really is an eddy of happiness. I don't even know how to describe it sometimes because it's so deep and beautiful. Before the July 4th flood, my grandparents' studio was here in a garage, and then beyond that was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and then a barn, and those were all gone, taken out by the water. Across the way, the houses that were there are now gone. Several friends and neighbors across the river did not make it.
Thunderstorms began to form on July the 3rd, or early morning of July 4th. And they continued to form, and they continued to form over and over again in just a rare, catastrophic type of thunderstorm. You have this massive area receiving continuous, heavy rainfall, hour after hour after hour. In some cases, 10 inches in an hour. By 1 o'clock, flooding was beginning, the river rising very rapidly. It was July 4th, and so the river was saturated with people, with families, with campers. They were asleep. They didn't know what was happening.
6:08 a.m. Guadalupe River at Nimitz Dam on Guadalupe Street. Good God.
This is 173. Not good.
Pouring into our newsroom, showing just how fast and how high that floodwater is moving.
People, including many children, found and airlifted to safety. The challenges, though, are numerous. The water moved debris and those caught up in it large distances. This is a place where they are used to flooding, but on this July 4th holiday weekend, it was on another level.
When you go into the individual level of what it did to those families, it just wrenches your heart. Prayers are with you. What you're going through has to be unbearable. During the days and weeks after the flood, the search and rescue operations were something like I've never seen. There were people from all over the state and the nation here.
The search and rescue operations were heroic. People came from everywhere. And volunteers and individuals were here on the ground, helping and looking. There were canine dogs, there were helicopters, there were government agencies, there were nonprofit groups. Everybody was showing up here to help. Having people show up is the biggest gift.
The amount of debris that was cleaned up is estimated to be about 1.8 million tons. It's hard to comprehend how much that actually is. A lot of brush, trees, vegetation. It is estimated that 52% of the vegetation in Kerr County along the riparian area is gone. The cleanup effort it's incomprehensible. There's no question that the amount of that heavy machinery right along the sensitive riparian area did cause ecological damage. There was a lot of destruction by big machinery. It was necessary, but it needs to be recovered and repaired.
With the amount of debris that was removed from the banks of the Guadalupe River, it's more critical now than ever that we take an active role in restoring those banks, in seeding native grasses, in planting those riparian trees, and bringing back the life that will ultimately hold the banks in place and prepare us for the next flood. So we've hosted a series of workshops to help train landowners on how to be a good part of that recovery process for their creeks and rivers.
So he's gonna have a bunch of great information for y'all today, and give it up for Steve.
What emotions and what thoughts come to mind for you personally as you look at and think about what the river was like before the flood? What it provided, what it produced, and the things you did and enjoyed about the river. Then the unthinkable happened. But the message that we bring you today is not looking back on how horrible it was. Our message today is that this river will heal. How does a river heal up after such a catastrophic flood? It happens with plants. And so here are your best friends that you need to get to know, and they are going to be what's able to transform a gravel bar like that, a flood-scoured gravel bar, into something that's functional. 3 sedges: emery sedge, sawgrass, spike rush, your best friends. 3 grasses: switchgrass, eastern gamma grass, bushy bluestem. Get to know them, learn to recognize them. 3 woody plants: sycamore, bacchus, cypress. These plants are going to do 80% of the healing along the Guadalupe River. So in these bags of seed is a lot of switchgrass and some other good stuff. Later on there'll be sycamore that will be given out next year and the year after. So this is not a one-time deal. This is just the beginning, trying to help you get the materials to help your riverbank. Even though nature is going to heal it up, sometimes we can be a good partner with nature and help things to happen a little bit better and a little bit faster. This is a really impressive example of how cypress roots and cypress trees stabilize these banks. So with that's a big old tree there, obviously, but its roots, look at the root system. This main root going this way goes far back this way, And then there's secondary roots going down deep, branching off of that main root, going downward, and that's why this tree could hold together against a 37.5 feet floodwaters. And the same size root exists on the other side. So it's actually built its own natural biological retaining wall. And there's no engineers that can even come close to building some kind of bank structural system that would do as good a job as cypress. So what we need all up and down the Guadalupe is more cypress trees. We need tens of thousands of baby cypress, dogwood, walnut, shrubs, bushes, grasses, sedges, by the hundreds, by the thousands. We need them in that density. When we have a healthy, intact riparian area, the destructiveness of the water is reduced. The energy of that water flowing down is dissipated. The water actually has less energy. It does less damage. And that's the role of this riparian vegetation, is to physically disrupt and hinder the velocity of that water, slowing it down where it's not as angry, it's not as hungry, it's less destructive. So from a human safety standpoint, I think we could say in general that an intact riparian area that slows down the water is better for human safety than a naked, barren floodplain where the water is gushing as fast as gravity will take it.
We've distributed more than 2,000 pounds of seeds, given away more than 1,000 live plants. And in the next years, we'll be giving away more than 15,000 live-rooted sedges, 9,000 grasses, and much more seed. Come look at it. It's got like fluffy stuff. We want to see a jump starting of all of the plants that were here before the flood. Getting both the function of those plants, but also the diversity of plants and trees to do all of the recovery work that we want to see for this river.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1!
We at the garden knew we had to do something, and not just something, but something big, something that had an impact, that supported not just the community of the Guadalupe, but also the health of the ecosystem. And that was the Trees Initiative, which is a planting of 50,000 trees over the next few years. Our goal is to replant the trees that were lost in the flood. This starts by collecting seeds locally. Everything that we're growing, we're collecting from the Guadalupe watershed. We then take that seed back to the garden. It's cleaned and processed by volunteers, packaged up, weighed. We ship that out or take it to various nurseries throughout Central Texas. There's about a dozen that we work with. They are growing out those seeds, and this fall we will begin our first planting. When we go to planting, we'll be working with volunteer groups and local communities within the areas affected by the flood. Here we have a half-flat bald cypress that the folks here at Native Texas Nursery are growing. So these are, about 3 to 4 inches tall now. So these will be some of our first plants that we put in the ground this fall. Oh, they've got a wonderful future ahead of them. They've got plenty of people that are going to take care of them and make sure that they have a long, healthy life.
Sometimes it's tempting to say, I give up. The sadness is so overwhelming, thinking about all the friends I lost and neighbors I've lost. And we just feel like that maybe healing the river is also healing people. And it gives you a positive moment. Instead of focusing on what's happened and the negativity, which is easy to focus on, it allows you to feel like you're moving forward.
So how do people restore riparian areas? There's two key fundamentals. One is a combination of passive and active management, and the other one is really more important, and that is your own personal ethic of land stewardship. Do you love your land enough to give it a priority and take responsibility? Do you love that land enough to understand it and learn what's necessary? It's a deeply held inner conviction inside of you that motivates you to care for and to sustain the land that has been entrusted to you. And why do you do it? For the benefit of future generations, incorporating that stewardship into their lives. Partly for your own personal benefit, and that includes economic benefit. The steward also does things for the benefits to society, because what you do on your piece of the river affects other people. And part of stewardship is being a good neighbor and working with your neighbor, because that river is a shared resource. It has been said that those who do not understand nature are destined to deplete it. But the good news and the converse of this is that those who understand nature best are compelled to conserve it. This river will heal. It's healing that injury. Let it do its work. Let it grow, let it grow, let it grow. The river will heal. The river will heal.